You would always want to be on the side of having good credit.
Do you think it pays to have good credit? Something that I've always had questions about. So, as I just mentioned, I just bought a home last year here in Arizona. And of course, the lender wanted to see 2-year bank statements. Now, I did write off a good bit. I think it was the first tax return that they wanted to see, but the most recent tax return, they're like, oh, you made, on paper, you made a lot of money, but the previous tax return, you written off everything. So what we're going to do is take these two tax returns and not necessarily combine it, but legally, we technically have to go with one of the lower numbers here, or something they were explaining. And I'm like, well, that's stupid. Can't you just use my bank statements to kind of see that this year that I'm making the same amount that I just claimed that I made on the last tax return? No, we have to average out both tax returns. And I'm like, whatever. Luckily, I still got the home. But, why is it that banks and lenders like to use 2 years of tax returns versus the bank statements that clearly show what a business is making today? Because in my opinion, who cares from if they want to see 2-year tax returns right now in 26, they will see year 25 and year 24. So why do they care about year 24? Shouldn't they care about tax return 25 and then compare that to my bank statements of 2026 to see if I'm still making that? So in your opinion, why do they want to see 2-year tax returns?
Yeah, so it's really also come back to some of the numbers, and I'm gonna touch down on some few points. The first
Okay.
point is that usually when you deal with banks, they want to see sustainability, and sustainability is what you look at it. That's any businesses that have been created, 70% of them will fail within the next 2 years.
Mhm.
That's data. So the banks know those things. So usually when they're asking you 2 years of tax return, they want to see sustainability. Oh, wow. You already may potentially pass that 2 years, threshold. So now you start being much more, you're getting on the, I won't say on the green zone, but you're getting on the yellow zone. You actually, oh, wow, he's been running business for the past 2 years. He has revenue. There's sustainability. And also they want to see that how is your revenue projection? How is the revenue actually growing? Maybe 2024, you did some, 2025, you did more than 2024. The business is growing. So you need more capital. So you need more access. Also, they're looking at tax return to see if you have any type of, debt at the IRS, looking at, have you been actually compliant with filing your tax return? Do you owe any taxes? Or maybe you have any lien or anything like that. So those are things that usually they look at it. But when they look at only the bank statement for the past 3 years, you can have great 3 months of bank statement, and then the next one. I'm gonna tell you an example, Chris. I'm in the tax industry.
Yeah.
Tax season in February, March, and April. Trust me,
Yeah.
you go and see anybody that is filing tax return. Bank account is good. It's looking good. Go back and talk to them in June or April, June or July. You'll see
I
you'll see
see.
the difference. It's not gonna be sustainable. It's not gonna be good as it is in April or February or March. So
Yep.
banks sometimes want to see also, yeah, you have great bank statement for the past 3 months. It's look good, but is your business seasonal? Or is it actually something that is, it's stable? So they want
Yep.
to see those things. So it's really a lot of things that they want to look at. And plus, when you look at banks, also they want to maybe give you a loan. They usually look at more than 40 metrics when they actually want to give you access to capital, or they're looking at how they can extend more credit for you. And I'm telling
Mm.
people is like, you look at America, and banks, credit union, and all those things combined, you have more than $9,000, 9,000 of them in America, more than 9,000 banks in America. And
Dang.
guess what? All of them are in the business of selling money.
Yeah.
They're in the business of selling money. They're selling you money in expectation for you to come back and pay that money with interest. So they
Mm.
want to give you loans. They want to give you access to capital. But then they need something in hands that will, show them, oh yes, we can extend more credit to this person. We can extend more capital. So this is why, for them looking at on the tax return is much more sustainable than just looking at 3 months of bank statement.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense for sure. Well, Look here. I'm obviously in the credit industry, and we have a lot of knuckleheads that's in this industry, man. There's people out there telling you you can fix your credit in 7 days, you can fix your credit in 30 days. You can open up a new LLC right now and you can get $1 million worth of business funding with no proof of income, no documents, all of these things. And it's just an industry full of misleading claims and myths, right? And I feel like every industry has bad people in it. If you look at construction, there's bad people. Roofing, there's bad people. Car detailing, there's bad people. There's bad people in every single industry. So don't get me wrong. So not only the credit industry have these knuckleheads, everyone or every industry does. So what are some of the misleading claims that you find that is commonly mistakenly, accepted in the tax industry? Because I feel like there can be a good bit of them. So what are some of the things or myths that you hear daily?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing as you said. There's bad people everywhere doing, sometimes bad service, and they promise you the whole lot, and then they can deliver that. So, some of the things that I see on the tax side, it's really, I see people talking about tax strategies, and sometimes, you see mistakes. I'm gonna take an example. I talked to you about a tax strategy of you actually hiring your kids in your company,
Yep.
right? But if you have an S corp, if you hire your kids by the S corp, you're gonna pay taxes.
Mm,
There's something that wrong that you just did.
hmm.
So S corp hiring a kid, you still have it's the income shifting strategy will not work. You have to have what is called a family management company that will contract with the S corp. Then the S corp will pay the family management company. Then the family management company will pay the kids. Now you
Yeah.
get to have the write-off. So you see this mistake. I see people sometimes they will claim you, hey, we can do those things, we can do that. But when you look at it, sometimes these mistakes, big mistakes that they make. And sometimes even depreciation side, sometimes they do depreciation, they don't have depreciation schedule. You don't know which strategy are they using on that. So I see these a lot of those mistakes and a lot of those claims that has been happening on we can save your taxes or we can make sure that you pay zero taxes legally, but they don't go in depth actually looking at really if they're helping you save that and actually the proper way, the legal way.
Hmm.
But that's because that's most important. You don't want to deal with something that they build you a tax strategy, then later when you have audits on hands and then you can prove that. So
Right.
this like the way I work is like if I build a tax strategy for you, I give you audit defense and guarantee knowing that if the IRS comes back, I'm not saying they're not going to audit you, but if they come and audit you, I'll be there because I work with you, because I built a strategy, because I implemented it with you, because I filed your tax return. So I can be better prepared and I know if I can represent you and then fully so we can talk about it. So there's a lot of mistakes that I see. Sometimes it's actually choosing sometimes the wrong expert or maybe someone that doesn't have a lot of experience in what they're doing, that kind of mistake that it's just it goes on the same side of the as you said the credit side and on the capital access side. It's like tell
Yeah.
someone tells you that hey, you have good credit, we can help you have access to $500,000 or $1 million, but mind you that client don't even have an entity. Sometimes they don't have an entity, or maybe even yes they might get you that capital, but it's going to be maybe with high interest. You got to be mindful
Yep.
on those type of, so it's going to be with high interest. And then what are you getting yourself into? Mind you, capital is good, it helps you scale, but you got to know also what are you getting yourself into.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, that was a great explanation there, Rashid. And look, I have one more question for you, and then we're gonna go ahead and wrap up this episode. You have definitely covered a lot of helpful topics and answers in this episode so far, but I want to switch things up a little bit. This whole episode over the last 45, 50 minutes, we've been sharing details about businesses and how to save businesses money. But what about your executive staff at some of these higher end companies,
Mhm.
in businesses, people that are making $300,000 salaries every year, right? They're probably making more money than your small business owner that's making in or bringing in $100,000. And we talk about all these strategies that can save them as an escort business. But what about these $300,000 a year salary W-2 employees, right? Is there tax strategies for those people, or are they pretty much screwed because they're W-2 and their taxes automatically get withdrawn either way it goes? So, how do you feel about those type of people?
Yeah, I mean, I believe those type of people, first of all, I want to tell them they're not stuck. They're not
Okay.
stuck. Yeah, you're
Wow.
making $300,000 on a W-2 or 400 or more than that. You're not stuck. There is
Okay.
legal tax strategies for you. There is possibilities for you that you would not even imagine. So,
Mm.
and this is where we start getting to what I call the advanced tax strategies. And sometimes we use the same thing for the business owners, and then sometimes we use it for, W-2 earners.
Okay.
So there's strategies that we can use, and then it's strategies that are based on investment strategies or income reduction or retirement planning. We use those type of strategies to really make sure that you pay the least amount of taxes, because our goal is making sure that you don't pay no more than a dollar and no more than a penny or a dollar that you're supposed to pay. So I'm gonna give you a couple of strategies those guys can use. Where there's one strategy we call it equipment leasing. Equipment leasing is one of the strategy, powerful tool that we use on the W-2 level. You don't have to be a business owner, but we go and we structure this type of investment. It's investment. Let's say you put $30,000 or $40,000 sort of investment, and then you get like $300,000 or $400,000 depreciation that you can actually apply to your income. So mind
Mm.
you, if you're making, let's say you're making $400,000, right? You
Yep.
put, and then you are on an effective tax rate of maybe 30%. So that
Yep.
means you're at least paying $100,000 in taxes. We take $40,000 of whatever you were supposed to hand to Uncle Sam. We put
Yep.
it in an investment vehicle that will give you potentially $300,000 of deduction that you can
Mm.
apply to your income. So now your income drops from 400 to 100,000 or $50,000.
Oh,
So we just
wow.
help you save money in taxes. Now you can potentially see that, hey, but the $40,000 that I'm using, I need to come up with it. No, depending on how we structure it, because you have
Mm.
withholding every paycheck. So when we build those tax strategy, you can actually stop your withholding. You can
Mm.
stop it because we already projection. Because it's about projection. We
Right.
predict that you're not gonna owe a tax bill, so we can take that money, invest it, and save money. Same thing.
Okay.
Another strategy that I can bring up is like we call it box house. It's like
Mm.
it's the same thing. And those are, and some strategies, the depreciation we capture, some strategies there is not. And box house is one of my favorite strategies that I use in my W-2, high income earners, because there's no depreciation recapture for now. So it's like we take an investment, you pull out $70,000 and then you get $350,000 of deduction. And then plus, not only that you put that, but there's ROI. You're still making 8 to 10% on your money.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to save money on taxes. You get to make money. Actually, you have a check coming up to you because you made an investment, and then potentially maybe you have zero taxes to pay, and everything is legal, and you're still a W-2. You still do what you. So this is just two strategies. Trust me, on the W-2 side, I have DNA harmony. That's one strategy that we use. There is so many strategies that we have on when you are a W-2 earner and then you're making a lot of money. That
Right.
definitely there is strategies for you. There is possibilities for you. You are not stuck. There's ways for you to legally reduce your taxes, potentially to the minimum or even potentially to zero.
Oh, wow. Absolutely. Thanks for tuning in to this episode. If you wish to be a guest on our podcast, visit StirgusCreditRepair.com and click the podcast page to schedule an episode. If you need help with your credit, you can also sign up at StirgusCreditRepair.com and start your free trial today.
Stirgus Credit Repair. Stirgus Credit Repair. If you want a new house, call us.